So, at the time, I was a 16-year-old female working at McDonald's. Now, at the McDonald's that I worked at, when you are on headset, basically where you answer people at the drive-thru, you are normally required to be at the first window and also take the payment. My job position was a customer care manager at the time, so my job was meant to be on front desk, but 99% of the time, they required me behind the tills. So, I was having a normal day, working a long shift but having a normal working day. I happened to be on headset in the first window that day. Anyway, my headset buzzes letting me know that there is someone at my drive-thru lane. I go through to the first window to answer my customer, and this is how the conversation ensued. "Hello, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get you?" "Oh wow, you've got a beautiful voice." His voice was very grunty and husky sounding, not off-putting. We have all sorts of customers come through McDonald's every day, so nothing gave me the creeps at this point, but his voice was very recognizable. "Well, thank you, sir. How very flattering. What can I get you?" "I haven't decided yet. Can I just come around to the first window to decide? I want to see who I'm talking to." No, we weren't very busy, and at this point, the creeper hadn't actually creeped me out. I mean, all he had done was pay me a compliment, and we quite often had people complain that they liked the face-to-face contact. So, it definitely was not unusual to get a request like this. "Yeah, sir, that's fine." "Wow, you are just as beautiful as you sound." "Thank you, sir. Have you decided what you're having?" "Are you an option?" I laughed this off. It was my first job, and I wasn't the rude kind of person when someone is paying me a compliment. I must also point out that this man must have been in his 60s. I remember he had one lazy eye that looked to the left, painfully awful teeth, and patchy dark brown hair. At this point, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but was still more than willing to take his order. "I'll have a cheeseburger." "Okay, sir, that's 99 cents. Are you paying cash or card?" Without answering my question, he started asking where I'm from, and how old I was, and so on. But it wasn't until his last few questions that I got super weirded out. "What time do you finish work?" 7:30. Why?" I didn't finish at 7:30, but 7:30 was the first number to come into my head when I blurted it out. I finished at 8 and would probably do some overtime too, but I wasn't about to let him know that. "I can meet you if you want. I can pick you up outside and we can go somewhere." All the while that he's saying this, he has this horrendous grin on his face and he keeps winking at me. "I'm really sorry, sir, but I'm not allowed to meet customers outside of work, as it's against our employee policy." This was utter BS, but I needed him to leave me alone. He carries on and being insistent, but not getting the picture. I cut the conversation short. "Anyway, sir, sorry to be rude, but can I have the 99 cents for your cheeseburger?" Yes, sorry. See you at 7:30. And off he drove to the next window. I was gobsmacked. I had already said I wasn't going to see him. I was a little bit shocked, but was not going to go over there and give him the satisfaction of talking to me again. My coworker came to me and said, That guy had a major crush on you and wanted your number, but I didn't give it to him. He's old enough to be your dad." Anyway, I explained exactly what had happened and how uncomfortable it had made me. 7:30 came and my coworker spooked. The creeper is waiting in the car park for me, just like he said he would. He is sat halfway down the car park, and you can see him just staring in. Our car park wasn't very big. It only had 4 rows of parking spaces, so he wasn't that far away, and he would have clocked me the minute I walked out the door. At this point, I'm freaking out, and head to the back of the store where hopefully he can't see me. I had to stay at the back of the store for 40 minutes before we knew it was safe to come out. Fast forward a week and Creeper is back on a drive-thru, and guess who was back on the headset and at window 1? Me. I heard his voice and I recognized it straight away. I was hoping I would hear your voice again. Why didn't you meet me the other day? Just 1 second, sir. I'll be with you in a second. I immediately handed my headset to my manager and gave him a quick briefing of the situation. He gladly took the headset and dealt with the customer from start to finish. When my manager came back to let me know that he had gone, he said that the creeper had been asking for my name, my address, and my surname. My manager said he was the most creepiest guy he had ever met, and I was never to have anything to do with him again. If he came to work while I was there, afterwards my manager would have had me head to the back room while he had dealt with the creep. He still always asked about me, every time. So, my second encounter with a creep starts like this. Again, I'm a 16-year-old female working as a customer care manager on front of house for McDonald's. Now, where I am from, where you are front of house, you are required to wear a light strip top, a yellow neck scarf, and a pencil skirt just below the knee which has a small slit up the back. I always button my shirt right up to the top, so I always looked very modest, and I would never say a McDonald's uniform is attractive. Anyway, when I worked at McDonald's, I always put my all into everything I did. So, I knew tills, drive-thru, drinks, serving, etc. I have also always been someone that will happily have a conversation with someone to make their experience enjoyable and hopefully make them want to come back. I was working on tills when creeper number 2 came through the door. He was a tall, blonde bodybuilder, at least 50 though. He came to the till and ordered. Didn't look very happy, so I asked the obvious questions. How's your day, etc. He made small talk and we got chatting about both of our days. After that, he tells me, "It's nice to see someone smile around here. Everyone else is grumpy." It's a nice enough compliment, and I was used to it. He was right. Not many people here enjoyed their job. He starts coming in once a week, on a Wednesday morning. Each morning he would come in, we would have a chat. If I was on the floor, front of house, we would sit and chat at a table and my managers were fine with this, as they knew it made each customer's experience unique. We got to know each other's names. His name was Michael. I started college on a Wednesday and Thursday and worked at McDonald's part-time, so my shifts would change. I worked Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays instead of Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and sometimes extra days if they needed me. Michael started coming into McDonald's every day to find when I was working. The first red flag, but I figured he was just lonely and he needed someone to talk to. Anyway, he worked out my shift pattern and came in on Tuesdays and said, after asking me why I wasn't in on Wednesdays because he missed our chats. He would do this thing where he would let someone else go in front of him, if it meant that he could come to my till instead. He would wait to one side to get served by me. It was odd, but I didn't think much of it. Just thought that he was a man that liked to be served by someone with a smile and had taken a liking to me. Again, we chatted when he came in, and this is where it got a bit more weird. We were sat down talking and he decided to really open up to me. He told me how him and his wife were going through a messy divorce. He started going into details of why. He had punched his son, and now this guy was big. It looked like he was a bodybuilder. I can't remember exactly what had happened, but he had ended up smacking his wife too, I think. And here, he was telling me about it. I'm no counselor after all. After proceeding to tell me how big his house was, probably to try and grip my attention, he started telling me how he was living in the basement of the house that he owned and it wasn't fair. I'm going to hit her again if this carries on. Apparently, the wife and son wanted him out, and they were going to have it and not pay him for it, blah blah blah. And he wasn't letting that happen. His son won't talk to him, blah blah blah. He started asking me for advice, a 16-year-old girl. I didn't really know what to say, so I just sort of said, everything happens for a reason, I suppose. And as I went to get up, he asked me to sit back down. Now, I'd already been sat for near half an hour, and I know I said my managers don't mind, but that's pushing it a little bit. So I told him that I really had to go. He carried on, trying to get me to sit back down, but let me go in the end. Now, this may seem totally unrelated, but trust me, it will make sense later on. In McDonald's, you have these sauce pumps, right? Well, they are connected to a big bag of sauce which has a popper on the top of it. You basically pop the tube into the popper on the bag. But Christ, this thing is fiddly. It can take me about 10 minutes to just get it connected. And then put the heavy bag in the holder on the side is another 5 minutes. It's a total nightmare. Well, right, back to the story. The sauce had run out and I had to fiddle about getting it in. Where the sauce dispenser is, it's right opposite from where Michael always sits. I could feel eyes burning into my back as I did this, and anytime I would turn around, he would be looking at me and just smile. It made me feel a fair bit uncomfortable, but hey ho, it's my job and you deal with this stuff all the time. Trust me, he is not the first person I've had perving at my bum. He came back a few more times, and each time I felt more and more uneasy. He started being a bit more personal, telling me he thought I was a pretty young girl and that we should meet up for coffee at some point, and I politely declined. Michael then said this, "Can I ask you something personal?" It depends what it is. I can't promise that I'll answer." "Are you a virgin?" "I'm not answering that." "What size are your boobs?" "I have a boyfriend and I'm not comfortable answering these questions." "Do you love your boyfriend? Would you leave your boyfriend for me?" Trying to scare him. "My boyfriend is behind the counter and I don't think he'll be very happy with you asking me questions like that." "Just make sure he treats you right. You are a lovely girl." "Anyway, I won't be coming back here for a while, so can I have your number?" "I don't think my boyfriend will be happy about that either." After that, I go to the back room to calm myself as this was very unnerving for me. He was an older guy, being very strange and asking super inappropriate questions of me. He knew my age as I had told him previously. The day continued. He had left and I continued and went home. When I woke up the next morning, I had a message on WhatsApp, a message on Facebook and a friend request on there and an Instagram follow. It was Michael. I don't know how he had found all my personal accounts just through my first name. The only way that I can think of him finding it out is by asking a colleague what my surname is and getting my number off one of them. Maybe he was friendly with one of the other workers and got my number from them, I don't know. He had messaged me saying how he needed to see more of my pictures. My Facebook and Instagram are set to private, but he saw the main pictures for them and my WhatsApp photo. He had sent another message about how he loved looking at my butt when I was bent over crawling on the floor to fix the sauce bags. I don't know if my split in my skirt was revealing, but I don't think it was. Saying all the things he would love to do to me. At that point, I noped out and blocked him on everything. I still get messages, not sexual though, from other accounts that he has made, wishing me a Merry Christmas and so on, even though he should have gotten the gist of me not wanting to talk to him. Luckily for me, I moved away a week or so after that happened, so I never saw Michael again. Hey everyone, This happened a few years ago, so the details may be fuzzy. For some background, I drive half an hour to the next town over for a summer community theater group. Practices occasionally run a little bit long, and my friends and I like to hang out at McDonald's when the practices run late, because by that time, most of us are really hungry. So, story time. It was a clear summer night. If I recall, it was about 10 or 10:30. Curfew in my hometown was 11 that night, and since I was only 17, I had to get home in good time. The cops are usually pretty chill since I live in a small town, but I didn't want to risk it. At that point, most of my friends were already leaving, but my friend Emma was still waiting on a bacon cheeseburger. I had to use the restroom, so I told her that I would wait with her. No young woman really needs to be out alone late at night in a relatively dark parking lot after all. I went to the restroom, and when I came out, Emma was gone. Oof. I called her boyfriend, Steven. Hello? Hi, is Emma with you? Yeah, she's going home with me. Okay, and Peter, a friend who can't drive, he's with you too. Yeah. We continue to talk as I walk out into the parking lot. I hear a lot of yelling to my left and see that two younger men in a really beat-up old red Chevy are screaming at the drive-thru microphone box. It's almost 10:30, so the drive-thru worker is probably helping to shut down the rest of the restaurant. They notice me staring and they wave. I wave back. Nothing weird yet, just a standard protocol for random strangers. Oof again. I walk across the parking lot towards my car, taking a second to notice the irony of not wanting Emma to walk across the dark parking lot. Meanwhile, here I am, a young woman walking alone across that dark parking lot. Triple oof. I climb in my car and get ready to go. I'm still on the phone with Steven at this point. Just as I start my car, the old red Chevy pulls up, right next to my Jeep. The mirrors could have bumped, they were so close on my driver's side. They wave, looking just a little bit lower than my eyes or even my entire face for that matter. I wave again, this time making it seem very clear by the look of my face that I'm not interested in escalating the situation any further. At this point, I had been taking martial arts for a few years now, so I knew I could defend myself if necessary. But it's better to entirely avoid situations where you may have to use martial arts anyway. Steven notices that my tone of voice has changed. Hey, are you okay? Yeah, there are these two creepy dudes in an old red Chevy parked right next to me. I may have to call you back. Big mistake. Oh, do you want me to come back and scare them off? No, I think I'll be fine. No reason to drag you back into town over this. Another mistake. Well, okay, but if you don't text me once you get home, I'm calling the cops. That sounds great, thanks. We hang up and the two creeps are still staring at my boobs. They really aren't that big, but I was wearing a tank top, so that probably didn't help me. They wave a third time. I don't bother with being polite this time. I reach over and lock the doors, and then look them in the eyes to tell them that I'm onto them. And then they start to get out of the truck. Nope. I throw it into reverse and get the heck out of Dodge. I hope that I ran over somebody's foot. I really do. I look back over my shoulder to see if they're following me, but they're back at the drive-thru yelling, trying to get the poor workers' attention. It was as if they had never left. I raced home, texted Steven to let him know that I was home, and I called it a day. Luckily, nothing came after that, and I never saw the two again. But man, I'm always on the lookout for some beat-up old red Chevy